these are the skunk paws. They are going to be outdoor, which means I have to put shoe soling on the bottom. And this is going to be my pattern for the shoe soling. I actually have one of these made out of cardboard for my standard paw shape, which, like, if you just take off, you know, this toe. That's usually like what my paw pattern looks like for the outdoor, but this is a skunk, so it has an extra toe. So I made a pattern for this. And I'm gonna put it on some scrap paper I had from a different pattern, just so it's easier to flip. So it's not sticky, basically. So it'll be like, you know, this for one side, flip it, trace it again for the other side. And when I say shoe soling, it literally is just shoe soling. You can buy a sheet of it, and people use it when they're like repairing boots and stuff. And that is what I use. I use the Severn, oh my gosh, what was that pronunciation? 7. I use the 7 iron. Because shoe soling thickness is measured in irons. And so I used to, one time I used 9, I believe, and that was a little too thick. It came out really heavy. I find 7 is like a good thickness for, you know, it's thick enough to seem pretty durable, but it's not so thick that you have trouble lifting your foot. It's the end of April right now. So I'm moving in 2 weeks? 3 weeks? When am I moving? Yeah, like 2 weeks. It's like I should start packing. Like, I know I should start packing, but I feel like I'll just get more overwhelmed if I start packing now, because then I'll have boxes and I'll have difficulty finding stuff that I need. So I kind of just want to wait till that last week before I just use 1 week to pack. So I'm like into pro wrestling, and there's going to be this very cool like pro wrestling pay-per-view in Chicago the week, I think it's about the week before Anthrocon, and I was like, what if I flew out, went to that show with my mom, and got to see my cat? That would be fun. But then, you know, they dropped the mask mandate on planes, and I'm like, I cannot risk getting COVID before Anthrocon. I could not have, like, skipping Anthrocon because I went to see pro wrestling. That's embarrassing. Because, like, right now, when it comes to conventions, I just stay in my room and I do con prep, and I go downstairs to eat, and I go back in my room for more con prep. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna be living with people who like work outside the home. Like, how am I gonna do that? So I'm like, now I'm just gonna have to stay in my workroom before Anthrocon and before like Megaplex. And so now I'm like, maybe I should buy, I wanted to get a futon, and I was like, oh, I can just stay in my workroom. But no, I think the room is technically too small for a futon. I'm gonna check again. Also, I keep thinking like I am confirmed for Anthrocon. I'm confirmed for Megaplex. Technically, I'm confirmed for Denver, but it's like, is that happening? I don't think so. I don't think so. The way this is not going to... Stay down, buddy. Alright. And that is my pattern. And I can show you. Can I show you? Where's that paw? So. See? Bam. Perfect. The reason there's the little gap there is because the fur for the paw will be tucked under there. So. Nice. You might have noticed before how messed up my table is, and you might have wondered why. And it's because I don't have a cutting mat, and I really don't care about, like, you know, the aesthetic of my work table. Oftentimes it's safer for me to just cut down into my table than to try to avoid nicking my table, because that will cause injury to myself. So, because I just did this, I was like, oh, let me record this. I'm cutting this shoe soling, as you can see. It is a thick rubber, and you should never cut towards yourself with a knife. It's very dangerous. You know, you're putting all this pressure, you're pulling, and if it slips, then you're stabbing yourself. Very dangerous. But sometimes it's just easier to cut this way than it is to cut that way. So, you can see right here, this little bit I had to cut away. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hurt myself. Like, as I had this in here and I was pulling, I was like, I'm definitely gonna slip and stab myself. So to avoid doing that, I pressed down into this table. So it gave me a lot more force so I wouldn't accidentally just whoop into me. So, look at it. There it is. It like lines up perfectly with this. Wow. But yeah, so that's why you'll see a lot of cuts in my table. They're safety cuts.